I would say this video solves the #1 issue the greatest number of people have with their lasers. So save yourself a trip to the forums or the Discord server or the LMA or whatever, and just follow this guide. What's up, guys? Welcome back. We are recounting our favorite online learning sections of our YouTube channel, the things that we think are the most potent, the most densely packed with information and knowledge for you, and some of the most entertaining videos. Joining me for this little episode, we have Boyce and Kyle. So Boyce and Kyle are hanging out. We're all going to take turns sharing our favorites, but Boyce is going to go first. So Boyce, what are your favorite Laser Everything episodes for learning and teaching yourself how to laser engrave?
Okay, so first up I have is 10 extra money with the CO2 laser cutting the plastic payday by Matt. He shows where you can just pretty much take 40 bucks of plastic and turn it into $400 profit. I like it because it kind of helps you get your leg into like a school system if you want, with a good product line that's super easy to install. My second one is the easy swap between Lightburn and EasyCAD, just because when I first started, it was hard to know which one you should go with. I had EasyCAD 3, now I have Lightburn, which is, you know, night and day difference. So for me, that was huge. And I kind of, one of the first ones that I found to the channel was this one, because I was just trying to figure out how to start the business, really, how to run stuff. So that was very helpful for me. Thirdly is a product one, is how to engrave slate. This is one of Alex's. This is where you have these 3 different color settings on slate. Of course, everybody does some slate tiles. And so this one I like because it breaks down all 3 settings. He shows you also how to do the vector manipulation in Adobe Illustrator, and it goes over how to export the file and all that kind of stuff and how to do your layers. But I still use it today. I go back and just double check everything. If I have a problem, I'll go back and refer to it because it's still a good one. And then this one is just everything you need to know about galvo lasers. You go into depth over UV, CO2, fiber, what they're used for, what they're going to mark, how they're going to mark, if they can cut versus engrave, or anneal versus, what do you call it, ablating. More into detail, the why behind the scenes, like all the information you need really to buy a laser. Yeah, honestly, like if anybody that watches our channel hasn't watched this video yet, I would almost call it like a prerequisite for watching the rest of the channel. Like, and I wouldn't say that about almost anything else that we have on the channel, but this video, like, before you watch anything else that we offer, or anything more, if you've already started, sit down and watch this video. Everything you need to know about galvo lasers in 2022. It doesn't even really need the year on it anymore. It's pretty permanent video, and it's very, very exhaustive in what we tried to decide on, you know, what to include in this video. We go into things like depth of field. Depth of field is something we talk about all the time that I feel like a lot of people just don't understand or think about because they've never heard it talked about before. Or like lens sizes and how they affect your power output, you know, your apparent power output. That's a huge deal. And things like that are going to affect all of your choices when you're laser marking, not just with the machine, but when you're planning on getting the machine. So this can't be understated. This is a great pick, Boyce. I really think people should be watching this one for sure. Especially if you haven't bought a laser yet. To me, that's what, you know, it lets you know what you're going to be engraving. And if you're going to engrave multiple things, it lets you know you should not buy a fiber if you're going to try and do, you know, organic stuff like that. It kind of breaks it down.
It squashes the learning curve on a comparison between like just pulling the trigger and buying something versus making an informed purchasing decision.
The next one I chose was inverting a raster or vector from, I didn't have that really pulled up, where you kind of go back and forth. This kind of breaks it down. So if you're actually doing like wood and you're laser engraving to the wood, you got to use a certain one version of it. And if you're taking away material like a powder coated product, you need the opposite of that. So it kind of goes over why for each one. It has you prep for all of them for 3 different materials, like I should say, backgrounds. Yep, that's a really good one too. And later on in the episode, we cover vectors as well and how to invert vectors. And that's more of like an aesthetic choice, I think, inverting vectors. Photos, you have to invert the right way. If your photo inversion is not correct, or like polarity, I suppose, your photo will be trashed. It just won't look right. That's not necessarily true for vectors, but it's really handy to know how to do that
quickly and be able to execute on that too. This is another great pick, Boyce. I really like this episode. And I feel like this one is one where people are trying to ask how to do this to fix a problem, but they don't know that this is what they need to fix it. You know, it's a hard one to, like, when you're having an issue related to inversion, how to phrase that to get help, because you don't know the words, you know. So this is another one. I'd recommend this to a ton of people. It's not that complicated. It's a very simple tutorial, and I think it solves a lot of mysteries for a lot of people, for sure.
If you're getting started, this is the type of stuff you need to watch before you even attempt something. Sometimes I'd watch this first. I think it's another must-have. And of course, what I'm currently going through is downgrading my EasyCAD to EasyCAD 2 so I can use Lightburn on my fiber. So this one's very in-depth. Oh, take it to the most minute. I'm like, oh God. Yeah, I'm literally I had to watch this like 3 times, honestly, to kind of get an idea of like, wait, what's that again? So it's like this, again, the vernacular, the positioning, the word, the terms for, yeah, everything. It's a lot to understand. So next, we got Jimmy's video, man. I love this video. Spray painting canvas and making photos. Simple. That's
a good episode. That's like peak Jimmy episode right there.
At his best.
I don't know if you know these guys. I mean, do you know these yahoos? I don't.
This and the hockey one. I love the hockey puck one too. I thought he did a really good job on that one. And again, this is a product you can make A to Z, start to finish. You have a product to offer your community, whatever that might look like. And this is something super, I won't say simple, but once you have it down, you can kick out anything really, really quickly, because this is just spray paint, let it dry, have your vector set up, and bam, your image done. It's a zinger. That's all for me.
Cool. Good stuff. Kyle, I know you've got a boatload of stuff to share. What do you have?
Yeah, I do. First thing I have is the viewer choice streams. So while not always perfect, I basically was taking a selection of things and we were learning from it. So whether it was trying a new process or trying a new material or trying a new something challenging, we kind of learned as a group what we were doing and why, and getting results based off of trial and error. And so it effectively gave you a project A to Z, but also all the hardship learning points along the way. What could we do differently? What did this parameter do in the process, and why did we do it in this order, kind of thing. So these were really great learning experience, and those streams are definitely not perfect because they are live learning experiences happening real time. It's not a curated video, but if you have the time to watch through it, there's a lot to learn from them.
One of the things I really like about these too is that there's a lot of times where it's like there's some downtime. Like, oh, okay, we have the coin all set up. We did all the hard work in Lightburn. We learned a bunch about how and why and what we're doing. And now we're going to wait for it to do 50 passes. And like that time ends up effectively turning into like a Q&A episode of the podcast, you know? And so you can find a ton of useful tidbits in there that we probably haven't even mentioned anywhere else on the channel, just because they kind of come up spur of the moment. So while you're listening or watching, when there's downtime, you can still continue to collect just like a ton of information on those.
Yeah.
Well, and for me, I like as you explain the why, like the logic behind tweaking your settings is like, or like you said, the order, it explains why. And that's the hardest thing to understand is, why am I making this change? Not just do what I'm told, because you can't reflect back on that. You got to have, you know.
Yeah, good critical thinking development.
Yep. And that is, you're right. That is super hard. When I got my first laser, the only information I had was basically from this channel and a few other sources on the internet that were miserable to gain information from. But through the channel, it made it approachable because of all the live streams Alex was doing. I was able to watch from A to Z. And that's a lot of why I did the viewer's choice streams, is because it brought some of that live stream shop feel back to it, and the explanations and the learning experience as to why and how we're doing things and why it's important. And going into the next one, it's another viewer's choice stream, and this one is one of my favorites because this is the first time I actually showed doing a live outline on a shape that we wanted to fill and fit a design into properly. I showed basically outlining shapes within the shape to use as an alignment tool. and then we scaled it to size, and then used the red light projection from the Galvo laser to properly size it from there as well. But it ended up working perfectly. So this is a persistent live stream I refer people back to when they're working with really intricate shapes, but they have these perfect circles or squares or ovals that they can use as an alignment tool. So when they need to be really precise and get the alignment and orientation just right, it gives you a method and a way of doing that. And moving on, slate testing on a completely different laser that we've never done slate on. We actually ended up using a lot of the Laser Everything slate values from the library to do different styles of engraving. And this is also a layer manipulation video for sure, where we did a lot of different adjustments, splitting things across layers to get different textures and effects across the slate. And we actually did a deep engrave for that die in the middle, the D20. So this was a lot of fun as well. And moving on, doing a rotary table live. This was a learning experience because I failed to align things properly, and you can see the rotary table rotating out of center.
It's a great episode though.
Yeah, it's a great episode. There's a lot of good content there, but I made a fatal error, and we figured out what that was at the end of the stream. Yep. So by doing it live and learning together, we were able to troubleshoot the problem quickly, figure out where I messed up, and then I was able to correct the file. And that's actually, that file is live on the community project library.
Yeah, these are great too, because you get the chat replay, so you can follow along with the mystery and unravel it together with the people that were watching it live.
It was a lot of fun. I've since made a better video on this that is also linked in the description of this live stream. But if you want to see the learning happen live, that's what I'm all about. And then following up the tail end here, the Lightburn for Granchi crash course, which has been a little bit on hiatus, but will be coming back with vengeance. But it's a good starter point if you're just getting started. It gets you the basics, and we're going to be expanding on those very soon. And the Galvo crash course, which is much more laid out and fleshed out at this point. We still have, of course, more to cover, but there's a lot of information there. And the last one I have is troubleshooting style videos that we do. So this one is why your engravings are always uneven. So it's just talking about the science of why they're coming out uneven when it's a persistent problem, and how to troubleshoot that essentially. It's an important skill to have. And honestly, this is probably one of the most frequent problems that we have popping up that can be solved in like 15 minutes. But yeah, what do you got for us, Alex?
The first one, these are very utilitarian choices. They're things that you need to watch if you have a Galvo laser. You just need to watch them. So obviously start with the everything you need to know about Galvo lasers, like Boyce mentioned. This one is forget rotary, intro to cylinder correction, and Lightburn. So if you're on Lightburn, you have a Galvo laser, this shows you how to wrap images around it without needing a rotary tool. Amazing tool for your tool belt. It goes into how it all works so that you understand and can troubleshoot it a little better yourself. If you're on EasyCAD, we have a video for that too. It's called Project Mark Essentials. This is amazing. It's a very, very good tool that allows you to do things much faster as long as they're within a few parameters. You get really nice clean engravings. It looks like it was done on a CO2 gantry machine, and these are actually both done with the fiber. Another one is multi-layer vector tracing. This is an Illustrator tutorial. It's awesome. So if you have any kind of graphic that's multicolored, it's not just a flat black and white graphic, but a multicolored graphic that you're trying to trace and get a usable trace off of so that you can engrave it as a vector, this tutorial shows you how to do it. We break it up into a bunch of different layers, and each layer contains some of that data, and then we bring them all back together so that they all kind of engrave together, and they can all engrave with different settings to keep them separate in the final engraving, but one final art piece. A really good, super underrated episode. Definitely go check that one out. Like Boyce, I'm also recommending the Downgrade Your EasyCAD 3 board to EasyCAD 2 for Lightburn episode for different reasons. Boyce found it really useful for its literal purpose, which was to get you downgraded if you were trying to get on Lightburn. But it is just a really good all-around episode for getting to know the internals of your machine. These machines have a lot of different parts in them, and it can be really confusing if you ever need to open it up to fix something and you're looking at this for the first time, like, what the heck are you even looking at? It's actually not that complicated. They're pretty simple machines, and we break it all down because you need to understand that in order to swap the controller board. So if for no other reason, and you don't need to change out your board, you don't need this video for any of the reasons that I've given, watch it at least to learn about the insides of your machine. Next up, the complete guide to timing and delay for galvo lasers. I would say this video solves the #1 issue the greatest number of people have with their lasers. Everybody who gets a laser and doesn't know much about it has an issue with their timing and delay. They're taking pictures, they're getting frustrated, they're sending them in. We deal with dozens of them a day, dozens of people that are having issues related to this video. This video is the answer. So save yourself a trip to the forums or the Discord server or the LMA or whatever, and just follow this guide. The stuff that your laser comes with from the factory is very unlikely to be correct. As far as timing and delay go, it's something you really want to set yourself once you have the machine in front of you. It can be a little complicated, but it's no worse than the downgrade video, and we go really slow talking you through it. It's a 30-minute episode. I've got 2 more links here. The complete photo engraving guide. It's probably one of our most famous episodes at 110,000 views. The photo engraving guide is just an immense video encyclopedia on photo engraving. It's everything I know about engraving photos, and it applies to every kind of laser. That's the best part about it. You can use this guide and get great photos every single time, because we teach the core principles about how photo engraving works and how raster engraving works on lasers, how it works with software like Lightburn and EasyCAD, and the quirks that both of those programs have that affect your decision making while trying to get good photos. So everything is covered. I mean, absolutely everything is covered in this video, and we end up with some really, really great photos at the end of it that I think anybody could be proud of.
I would argue that this isn't just paramount for photo engraving, because this kind of teaches you the fundamentals of how the beam is hitting the material and how those overlaps can affect your end quality result of whatever you're marking. So even if you're not doing photos, you're just doing vectors, this is how you fine-tune essentially your line interval or line distance, which ultimately affects your end result as well.
It's a really good point, Kyle. And then my bonus pick, guys, the Laser Source podcast. It's the #1 podcast if you're looking to grow or scale your laser engraving business, for real. We just hit 100 episodes. Our 101st is getting recorded in like an hour and 10 minutes here. So we're going to be recording the Laser Source podcast 101st episode. We're all really excited about it. A lot of it is goofy. A lot of it is nonsense. But a lot of it is serious interviews, real guests who are doing real work to make this industry better. Massive hour-long Q&A sessions multiple times a month, over and over and over again, answering questions people just like you have. And this is probably the best place to get unorganized information on the channel. I think the Laser Source podcast is somehow the thing that I'm most proud of, just because it's consistent, it's well done, and I love the cast and everybody involved in recording it. So if you haven't already, it's available on every major podcasting service and on YouTube.
I would argue too, 95% of all of our podcast content doesn't require viewing. So if you just want to learn passively while you're driving, commuting, running jobs in the shop, and you can't look at a video, this is a fantastic way to kind of grow your knowledge without investing time you don't have.
Yeah, really, really good stuff, guys. That was a great list. So if you are less than familiar with the Laser Everything library, that is just some of the biggest highlights of the content that we offer over at our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/@lasereverything. And there is a massive library. I think we're almost to 500 videos now uploaded to YouTube, and all of it has something worth your time in it. Absolutely. So please go check that out. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified anytime we add to that massive library. I really think you're going to enjoy the stuff that's coming out soon. Don't go anywhere because we've got a ton of great stuff coming up right after this.